Viswanadhan was born in 1940 in Kadavur in Kerala. He has spent most of his time in Paris since the 1960s. He moved there soon after his studies in art and co-founding the Cholamandal Artists Village in Madras. Viswanadhan was taught by K.C.S. Paniker, who has been another phenomenal artist for Indian modernism, especially from a southern perspective. It's such an honor to have this exhibition here, which represents the largest presentation of the artist's work in a contemporary art biennial. There is, of course, such a close relationship between the people of Kerala, their culture, their labor, and the place we are in, Sharjah. This history, therefore, I evoke through the artist's perspective and life as someone who calls himself a traveler. What fascinated me about Viswanadhan's work is the versatility of it. Take the medium of sand, where he creates paintings with sand as the primary medium, sand from different coastal areas of India. This series of sand drawings and also photographs are made in the 1970s after Viswanadhan had a major accident. He decided to turn to cinema, and he called upon the film auteur Adoor Gopalakrishnan, who is also from Kerala, a maestro of cinema and script writing. In this case, he was behind the lens in Viswanadhan's films on the elements. So sand is again a major medium that he corresponds with to think about India's everyday culture and enduring histories, pre-colonial to antiquity to the present day. In the photographs that you see here, these are stills that accompanied the filmmaking journeys that Viswanadhan and Adoor Gopalakrishnan took. And in these cases, you see how the photographs are really vignettes also of studying the labor that is carried out along the coastlines, rituals, the kind of different species that inhabit the areas around beaches, but also really thinking about imperial histories and voyagers who came, merchants who entered into India forcefully, brutally, but also those travelers and voyagers who make the country as diverse as it is today. Even though Viswanadhan is living away from India for majority of his life, he is a Parisian at heart, but in his soul he really captures this plurality of India from a material perspective. We're also exhibiting some of the works of Viswanadhan from the 60s that he created when he left India. These are very, very rare stamp ink works. So I'm talking about different works, but really the question for me is about how this artist engages with texture and materiality of form. At the same time, he challenges us in understanding the role of abstraction. He says painting, like poetry, is a medium of thought. And I think this is such a beautiful assertion that once again brings us to understand painting in its totality as a life-forming practice in this case. So really, when you move through this representation of his practice, you go from the arc of works made in the 1960s to the 70s to the early 2000s, and you see how he played with color chemistry, how he's constantly also journeying with the ancestry that he carries within him, as he comes from a family of Vishwakarmas, those who are inducted into trade such as blacksmiths, goldsmiths, carpenters, the makers of temples and mandalas and rituals. And so the kind of energy fields that are released in these paintings also have that haptic effect. They are vibrant, they are radiant, and in this sense too, we worked with the spatial design of this gallery, thinking very closely with Viswanadhan's practice. And I worked with the architect Diogo Passarino and his studio to reimagine how to stir these relationships with Viswanadhan's approach through architecture, because that was also something that resonates in his filmmaking. When you watch the film Sand, you're really also thinking not only of materiality, but really also the kind of architectures that one finds along these coastal cities, ancient ports. And so all of this is really one circuit in a sense. And that makes me again think back to his lines where he said, "I did not make paintings to survive. The paintings reveal how I have survived." And that again, I think, is a very special quote that the artist kind of imprints into us when we're sort of thinking about the trajectory or the story of an artist's lifetime, who has lived away from his homeland in Kerala, has journeyed, lived in Paris among the finest artists of the world, and constantly carved his position within that landscape.